All right. As always, I think that's just gonna have to do. Here we go. Mainly Monday. Welcome, friends, to Mainly Monday. This is a monthly production from Your Other Brothers. We are a community navigating faith, homosexuality, and masculinity together. My name is Tom. I'm the co-founder and editor of this community. I'm so glad you're here. First thing I need to point out, it's really exciting. Y'all, my microphone has a hat. I find it so funny when I was like stuffing it on his little head. It was just very humorous to me. I don't know why. Even now, just looking at it, it just makes me smile. I'm just so happy, you guys. Are you guys happy? I hope so. Today we are talking about ailments. Does anyone out there have an ailment? Because, gosh, do I have the ailments. If you missed our last video, which was not a Mainly Monday video, it was a State of the Yob video, which previously, I've been following these videos for a while, previously Mainly Monday and State of the Yob, combined with our mailbag, were all smushed together into one giant video. Now, separation. Church and state. If you missed our last video, our State of the Yob, I recapped the entire month of September on yourotherbrothers.com. Our blogs, our podcasts, our videos that we put out all month long. In addition to that, though, a huge critical update. Because if you missed it, I chose a chair. And as you can see, this is the chair that I chose. No worries, the granny rocker was given a fitting farewell. And so for those of you who have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen it, I'll wait. I'll wait. Okay, so now that you've seen the video, let's dive into ailments, and particularly an amazing story from Luke 13 about a woman who was a hunchback. The hunchback of Luke 13. As I've been reading through the Gospels in my mornings lately, I'm really astounded, honestly, by all of the stories and then all of the details within those stories, but sometimes the stories themselves that I just literally forgot about, never knew existed, I don't know. But the hunchbacked woman in Luke 13, I think I vaguely remember this person, this character, this dear sweet figure. But reading it the other day for the first time just kind of gave me this new perspective, as does tend to happen when reading scripture, reading it through different seasons of life, after different life experiences you've experienced, you can see a story with whole new eyes, whole new perspective. And I saw this one with a whole new perspective, on top of the fact that I hardly remembered this story even existing. So there's that. So if you're reading along at home, and you should be, read along at home. This is Luke 13. So the story picks up in verse 10. Now he, Jesus, was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. And behold, there was a woman who had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bent over, and could in no way raise herself up. 18 years. Spirit of infirmity. But when Jesus saw her, he called her to him and said to her, "Woman, you are loosed from your infirmity." And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight and glorified God. Y'all, she was made straight. Anyone else find that a humorous line? I find that quite humorous. I want to focus on this woman who for 18 years was like this, and then all of a sudden was like this. It reminds me of, actually, I remember seeing a hunchbacked woman a long time ago, and she would wear a backpack, and she would literally, yeah, she'd be like, what degree angle is that? 45 degree angle? 90, well, it's a 90 degree angle, yeah. A 90 degree angle to the ground. And I just always thought that was so sad and just like uncomfortable and hard and painful and ouch. It makes me want to like sit up in this chair. This beautiful ergonomic, what's the, anyway, I'm derailing myself. I need some more Navajo tea. Navajo tea. Thank you, Matthew. I don't know, I think about this woman who for 18 years, looking at the ground, looking at the dirt, looking at the worms, looking at garbage in the streets, that was her norm. That was just waking up and going to bed each night, just always looking down and looking down, knowing no other direction to look. 18 years, that's significant, because I look at my life, and in my life, for 19 years, practically the same amount of time, 19 years, I practically looked down at the dirt and at the worms and at the garbage with regard to my sexuality, with regard to vulnerability, and for letting any other person into my heart, into my inner recesses of my soul, just assuming that that's just the way life would always be. I literally would journal about this thing and about this secret, about this thing in my life that I couldn't even pen to words in a journal for my own eyes, for fear not only that other people might discover it, but for fear that I would discover it, to learn the truth about myself, my sexuality, my attractions, and subsequently porn addiction. And then 19 years later, that story gets reversed. Just like for this woman, 18 years of being a hunchback, of looking at the ground, all of a sudden she meets Jesus, and Jesus says, "Come here." And he loosens whatever was binding her, a spirit, scoliosis, whatever that was. She was loosened and freed, and all of a sudden the image of like a woman who could only look down, and in a moment's notice being able to all of a sudden look up and see clouds and see sky and see trees, tops of trees, and birds flying. That, like, when I read that the other day, it really sent chills up my spine, my non-90-degree spine. And really though, it gave me a flashback to when I first came out. I came out to my parents at 19, and then subsequently over the next few years came out to my brother and sister, and came out to a best friend, and came out to a mentor, and came out to friend after church group. Such a night and day difference. And if you're out there, if you've never come out, if you're a teenager watching, first of all, I'm so glad you're watching. If you think you're convinced, because I was, if you're convinced that you'll never tell anybody before you die, I'd encourage you to hang in there a little bit longer, because I was convinced that I would keep this secret to my grave. I would never journal it. I would never, maybe in my last dying breath, I would say, I've been attracted to men this whole time. I don't know. Like, I literally had no concept of ever being able to put words to my sexuality and confiding in somebody else, let alone tell, the entire world or whoever's watching, whoever's reading. And yet it happened. And Jesus is the reason. Jesus ultimately has been pulling me on this journey of growth from my teenage years to today. And now 13 years later, it's still not easy. It's still awkward. It's still hard, especially meeting people for the first time or sharing some of my story. It's still a very difficult process, but I'm convinced God, Jesus, wants all of us to stop looking at our feet and looking at the worms, and to look up to him, to look up to the sky. And that means obviously a lot of wisdom and a lot of prudence as far as who do you share and at what time do you share it. I'm not saying that everyone out there should just go ahead and start talking about their sexuality at all times to all people, but I think God absolutely wants us to confide our deep dark secrets with others, to find healing, to find growth. Previously being oriented like this, to then being oriented like this. What a posture change. So how about you? If you've never come out, if this is all very new to you, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Feel free to comment on this video here on YouTube, or go to our video page at yourotherbrothers.com/video. Tell me a story. If you have come out, if it's still a very new process to you, if you've done this hundreds of times, is it still difficult? Is it easy now? Is it a piece of cake? I'd love to hear how you disclose your sexuality to other people. And maybe we can all learn from each other. We've had people in the community write letters to their parents. I came out to my parents via a journal entry. The whole point of it is hopefully growth and overcoming the shame of these stories and letting them breathe and growing through them. Not reversing anything, but working through it, giving it room to breathe. So I'd love to hear your coming out stories. Comment on this video, comment on our site. As always, I'm available via email, tom@yourotherbrothers.com. Shoot me an email anytime. I'd love to hear from you. That's it for Manly Monday. Oh, before I go, let me remind you that we have a P.O. box. You can mail me things anytime. Letters, postcards, or all of this. Some dear follower, a watcher, a listener, a reader, maybe all of the above, sent me not just this candle, not just drop everything, not just all of these little baby candles. I'm not even grabbing all of them. Like there's like 7 or 8 of these, and they're all different colors, and they smell so good. And not even a jar of original cherry salsa. Yes, cherry salsa. Not even one, but 2 things of lip balm, but also sour cherry patches, and also actually chocolate covered cherries, which sadly are not able to be shown right now because they're consumed, they are gone. Thank you, dear friend, for taking this upon yourself to send me these things. This is amazing. I saw this care package. I felt like I was at summer camp, and somebody was sending me all these lovely little things, and it was beautifully wrapped, like colorful paper. I wish I still had the package. If you want to send me things out of the goodness of your heart, if you want to write me a letter, honestly, I would take a letter from anybody. It's Your Other Brothers, P.O. Box 843, Asheville, North Carolina 28802. I'd love to hear from you. As always, follow us on all the socials at Your Other Bros. If you're interested in becoming a yobber, go to patreon.com/yourotherbros. As always, like and subscribe, and thumbs up for notifications. Did I say all that right? In the meantime, this is Tom, reminding you to speak meekly, chase madly, and be manly. Everywhere in between. I love getting stuff.